Hello, my friends. This is Ana Sarabia coming to you today with part two of what makes a good rental property return on investment. So, on our previous episode, we talked broadly about, people that decide to purchase rental properties as the best way to create generational wealth. And my goal with this series is just to give you all the information that you need to really consider before you jump into this kind of investment so that you know the good and the not so good about it. But the reality is, not all rental properties generate the same return on the investment, even though the formula is pretty straightforward. So there are factors that can increase or decrease that return on investment, and those include the following. So, number one thing to consider is the purchase price of the property, obviously, as well as any repairs cost that you have to do to the property. It's a common practice, a lot of the times. Well, we have two ways of going about this. Some people buy new homes and make them those, rental properties because there's a lot of incentives that some builders at some point or another might be offering. It's a good rental area, etc., and they don't want to have to deal with any potential issues on an older home. The other way to go about it is get something at a really great price, if at all possible, and then do those repairs. So that's the one thing that you need to decide. If you do have to either going to be building a home or are going to make some repairs, try to use those materials that will have the longest shelf life. Try to stay away from carpet. Try to do solid surfaces in the kitchen instead of formica. Just common sense things like that will allow you to have, more than one tenant use them before you need to replace them. Because one of the things that you will have to take into consideration is set aside another bucket, if you will, for any improvements, maintenance issues that might happen, in the course of the life of this property. The next thing to consider is the occupancy rate. We spoke briefly about it, but it's always a good idea to have a professional do a very thorough background check because real estate is such a hyper-local activity, so not all areas will yield you the same amount of return. Now, the next thing that I wanted to really talk about are the operating expenses. So what are operating expenses? The operating expenses include property management. Are you going to be managing this property, or are you going to pay a company or a person to do the management for you? And what does that entail? In essence, or across the board, usually 10% of the rent is what a lot of companies charge. Other companies charge a fee, a setup fee, because again, it's not the same when you are leasing a property, say $2,000, that's a $200 management fee versus a $5,000 house, which would be a $500. So a lot of companies do offer a flat fee, and it's also gonna depend on how involved they will be in the property as far as repairs, answering calls, and things like that. So, number one, property management fees, maintenance fees, and your homeowners association dues. Those are operating expenses. Now, in addition to the operating expenses, you have to add your annual expenses. And what are your annual expenses? Well, the insurance that you pay for the property. Keep in mind that you will have this property fully insured, and the tenant is responsible for their tenant insurance part of it, which is, if anything were to happen to your property, your umbrella insurance or the big insurance will cover everything, and their insurance will cover their belongings. So that was insurance. And then property taxes. Here in South Texas, for the most part, San Antonio and New Braunfels area, we're at 2.795 of appraised value. Those are our taxes. So you have to do the math to make sure that this property is going to be a good thing for you. So in essence, in regards to what makes a good ROI, it's going to be totally based on the laws of supply and demand. And, that's also something that's going to affect your return on your investment. And of course, a lot of the experienced real estate investors understand that the ROI of a rental property, it's changes from market to market and sometimes from neighborhood to neighborhood within the same city. Generally speaking, the higher your return on investment is, the more profit potential the property offers. Now, unlike other ways to invest, higher risk doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be making more money, because ultimately it's not the risk of buying a property, it's the same, obviously a slight variation, but it doesn't, change much between one property and another one. So I think that's going to be our second tutorial about return on investment, and then I'm going to keep on working on this, talking about how to calculate it and so on and so forth. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Any specific questions, feel free to send me a quick direct message. Thank you for watching. It's me again. Thank you so much for stopping by. Just wanted to say real quick, if you want to check out some of our previous content, feel free to check out and click over here. And for our newest content, just do it on the opposite side. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, an invitation for you to subscribe and like our content, and I hope to see you here very often.